with rank dropping yesterday, we all need some good settings. I'm here for you. I'm currently Diamond 3, about to hit Onyx. I'm pretty close to the leaderboard actually, so I'm going to share with you all my settings, including my KovaaKs routines. For the general settings, I would just put all these on, especially if you're on a low-end PC. Even on a high-end PC, I recommend doing so, unless you want to go crazy with quality. I don't really care for the volumes in this game. I recommend turning this up to hear everything. These two are an absolute no-go. They absolutely ruin gameplay performance, plus, I'm not on a mobile device anyways. I recommend toggle sprint and auto sprint. It's just so you don't have to hold the sprint button. This allows you to do movement a lot easier with some keybinds, which I'm going to show later. And so a clip I'm going to show later on how it actually affects. But I would turn this off just because it is really bad. Like if you accidentally hit your scroll wheel while you're aiming at someone, and there you go, you just lost a gunfight because you just pulled out a gun in the middle of a fight. I mean, the pullout times, I'd explain that, but I'm not on mobile or console, so I ignore these. But if you're on mobile, just crank everything up, and if you're on console, you're most likely on PC anyway, so crank it up as well. Sensitivity is going to be 0.9. This is going to be 1. If you want, what I would do, because I use 0, I also use 1 or 3 FOV. It depends, like it's all preference. If you like the zoom effects, I would put on 0.35, and I'd put this on 1.35, just so it balances out with that. If not, just do what I normally do. These two gotta go off. They're pretty bad, especially this one. It just hinders your gameplay performance. The rest of these are kind of personal preference. Teammate icons helps to know where your teammates are. This is like for FFA warriors. I personally use grid. I see weapon icon, I click. It's kind of like grid shot. If you play Aim Labs, you know. But I wouldn't worry about that. This is also crucial, especially for calming with your team and hearing calls for your team. Because like if you have it off and they try to calm, you just lost the fight for your team, and you don't want to be that guy. This doesn't matter. This is also very crucial because if someone medkits and they're low, you kind of like get a general idea. This, if you're ADS, you don't want to see muzzle flash. It's distracting for me personally. But before we go into the next ones, let's get to my Roblox settings. So for the sensitivity, I use 0.1, and I use low volume because I have my volume loud anyways. But you can kind of crank this up. Kind of loud. Quality. So I use dark textures, so I can kind of like crank it up all the way. I prefer this if you use dark textures because you see glass perfectly. If not, if you need to toggle in, someone has an avatar like mine, you can't see with the dark textures, use 2, but mostly you want to use 3. It just depends on your PC as well. All this is like cranked down because it doesn't matter. But let's get into the other settings, like my crosshair. So I use a red dot personally, and I kind of just disable all the bars because I don't like bars. It's all preference. I used to use the Demon 1 crosshair if anyone played Valorant, but I would recommend just kind of experimenting with it. I use 4 dot thickness, and then it's red. It's just what I'm used to. It would say it's a direct gameplay buff, but it is good with burst rifle, so if that's like your type of gun, that's crucial. But for these, I use Q for melee, which I'm kind of weird for that, but I can hotkey to it quickly. And then this is the good movement stuff. I'm gonna play a clip as I explain this, but on the second column, you want to have crouch there, and then disable on the first column. And then for sliding, it needs to be enabled on the first column. So you're probably wondering, how does that affect your movement? Well, if you see the clip on screen, you will just like go flying, crouch, and then like instantly throw off your enemy. It just depends how you maneuver it. The rest of it's kind of default, stuff like that. This is what I use for signal. I recommend doing a key you can quickly access. You could probably do some like E, but you can only like spam it so much before it's on a cooldown, which I think they need to remove that. But that's just my rival settings. I'm gonna get into my Bloxstrap settings, which again, fast fights are in my Discord server, so I recommend checking that out. It's going to be in the rival settings with everything else, like my no arms, stuff like that, and like my mouse settings, which I use a 500 DPI Bloxstrap settings now. You don't have to worry about this stuff. This is what you want to worry about. If you're on a low-end PC, this really helps. If you crank everything down, you should use this at all times. If you have a high-end PC, I recommend using Vulkan, but it's kind of like you can't really record in game. It's complicated to explain, but I would recommend doing all this. And then you have all these settings, but you have no way to implement it. Like you have no way to train off of them. Well, fear not. If you you buy KovaaKs, which I recommend doing, if you have some spare cash around, go get a Steam gift card at Walmart or whatever, and just buy KovaaKs. Like, especially if you play FPS games competitively, you're sleeping on it. I have every KovaaKs resource I do. I have daily playlists that you want to score threshold, which is explained in the Matty OW video. I recommend checking him out for more aim advice, KovaaKs settings, all that stuff, my crosshair, etc., etc. If you train off this and use good settings like mine, next thing you know, you'll be on the leaderboard, everyone's going to accuse you, and then boom, you're straight from there. You might be wondering, what does it look like in game? Well, let me show you what it looks like in game. This gets me accused all the time.